Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Hardcore Minecraft Guide. Today is a very big episode because we are going to start some larger projects, and I'm going to bring you along on the ride for it. And to start off, as soon as the night passes or as soon as we sleep, we are going to head over this way and we're going to clear off the top of this mountain, bring it down to a level playing field so we can then convert it into our main base area. But I want to do that under cover of daylight because we have a brand new tool that we're going to be using to make sure that you enjoy that a little bit more than just watching me do it. So let's get rested up and get that knocked out of here.
Oh baby, I wanted you to be here inside my arms where the night goes down. Oh baby, I wanted you to be here when the sun comes up and the day goes by.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that little time lapse right here off the start of the video. And if you're curious as to how that works, that is done through the replay mod. And there are great videos out there of how to set that up and how to work it. I really enjoy using it. And we will eventually be building up on that hillside. Now, some little bit of work that I did off camera with that project is actually in terms of setting up the floor for the base that we'll be building here. And we'll go ahead and have a look at that real quick before we move too much further into the episode. And that is as it currently appears. Now, I'm not loving this floor design, but it also gives me, you know, an idea of how we're eventually going to have it. So currently, I'm bordering it with some polished diorite slabs, and you can see that they're slabs. If we walk a little bit further this way, you can see right here that there are some sections that only have that half section of the block, and that's fine. Slabs made the ring go a little bit longer. The blocks that I had available for using in the ring go a little bit longer. And I don't hate using the andesite here, but I'm not really liking the comparison between the granite and the andesite. But by the time we make it over to the nether, we'll have some access to some blackstone, which will be good, and a much better flooring block for us to use. It also looks like we had an enderman over here because, you know, lone block of gravel just hanging out in the middle of nowhere. But let's have a look at another project that I've put together over this way. Now, I didn't walk you through this because I have built this farm previously. You can find it on my channel. You can actually find it in the description if I remember to put the link to that video here. But what it is this is a highly efficient wheat farm in terms of how compact it is and the rate of return that we get. Now, I haven't quite finished it. We'll do the setup together as we finish things up here, but we have a spot here where we have some water that runs down. It actually runs all the way along both ends of this farm. I've got another block of water that comes from here and walks out this way and comes down to this end here. And basically what happens is once we have a dispenser with a water-filled bucket here, and we press a redstone line button, which we'll need to run over, it will pull all of the water down to the edge of this area. And I believe that this is 1, 2, 7. So that is actually going to overrun, possibly. But the way that that will work is you can hear running back and forth underneath here. There is a minecart line And you can see that I have a minecart with a hopper running around back and forth between these sections, and that will offload the goods that it collects into these 3 different sections here, which will be good for collection purposes. It looks like we had another Enderman right there. But I'm actually going to just kind of block that off on the off chance that the water does weird things for us. And I think we're ready to finish up setting up the rest of this. So let's walk you through making the materials that you'll need to finish up this farm. Alright, so we're going to need 1 piece of redstone. We're also going to need some cobblestone, so let's grab that. And then let's walk over here to our crafting table. Now to make, there's 2 different items that you can make here. There is the dropper, which you make by placing redstone here in the bottom in this configuration. And a dropper will just spit out regular items. Any item that you stick in it, it'll click it out and just kind of set it on the ground in front of it, which is handy for a couple of different things. But what we're looking for is a dispenser. And the difference between a dispenser and a dropper is the dispenser will shoot things out a little bit further with a little bit more force, hence why the bow is in the middle here. And you don't need to use a brand new bow. A couple of patches back, you can actually craft these with used bows. So if you are collecting a bunch from a skeleton farm or something, you can place that right here in the middle and you'll still be able to craft your dispenser. And the other nice thing about dispensers is that dispensers will allow you to deploy certain items out of them. You can place water buckets in them, and instead of spitting out the bucket of water, it will actually deploy the bucket right in front of it, and so that'll create a cascading effect of water down around the outside. Other things that you can place in here is you can place flint and steel. You can place shears, other things, and they will automatically perform their functions, such as lighting fires, shearing sheep, whatever it is that you're needing to do. You can also do the same thing with bone meal and have that dispensed automatically. Now you will want to be careful when making your dispenser, because if you forget to put in the bow, you will get that dropper and it will not perform the functions the way that it's intended to. So just keep that in mind as you are trying to craft up your different items. Now the only other things that we're going to need here is we're actually going to want to smelt up 1 piece of cobblestone into stone. And we're going to want to grab some redstone line, and let's grab some of this granite as well, because we're going to want to polish up this granite. And then turn this stone into a button, and that ought to be all we need here. So now, what we'll need to do to finish up this farm and actually make it functional is, and I think I goofed a little bit in the design here, which is okay. We can come around and fix that in just a moment. But what we are going to need to do is you'll need to place the dispenser in the way that you need it to be facing. So right here you see that the mouth is facing forward. That means that it will dispense its items out in this direction. We now need to take our redstone, or our granite, and line it up this way. And the reason we need to do that, well, we really only need it right here. But we'll need to run this redstone line over here to our control. So we'll need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And at this stage, you can get away with doing 10, but you should also add in a repeater right here. And I neglected to craft that, but we can do so right now. So let's head back and correct that mistake. All right, so now that we have our stone, we can actually do this. So we put our stones like here as if we were going to make some stone slabs. We'll place our redstone torches here, and then one final piece of redstone dust right there in the middle, and that will give us our repeater. Now, redstone repeaters, they have some interesting properties, and they're quite a lot of fun to use. So let's kind of explain how a repeater works. You will need to use repeaters in order to extend out the signal for different items that you're doing. So for example here, this will extend out the signal, but it will be one redstone tick slower than the initial pulse. You can then right click on it in order to extend out that pulse to 2, 3, or 4. In our case, we really only need to have this at the 1 tick itself, so we can go ahead and set it to the 1 there. And that will be fine for what we're needing to do for it. Now, the last thing that we'll need to do is we'll need to run this line to here. And with the addition of a button right here, you should see that the dispenser activates and it washes everything down into this little area here. And with another click, we can turn that off. You'll see that the water slowly recedes, and it leaves us with our food all collected. And then our items will start to be deposited here by the hopper minecart as it bounces back and forth. Now, there are a couple of flaws with my particular design of this based off of where I had to run the minecart back and forth. And the better method of doing this is actually going to be running back and forth with a whole line of hoppers, but that is a very expensive design for me at the time. So this is a much cheaper and still efficient method of collecting those resources. So we're going to want to, just for the time being, run around and collect any of the stragglers here. And then we will have the rest of our wheat and other items deposited here as the minecart bounces back and forth. And you'll see this as it goes around. We will eventually come through and fix this to the point where you can see that at this stage we've collected up all of the wheat out of that minecart, and now it's just going to be working on depositing the seeds here. So we will be fixing this design eventually and adding just the hopper line down here at the bottom along the entire way. But until I have the resources to do so, we'll work with this somewhat less than efficient model. And it's fine for how it is, wish it was a little bit different in its design. But as we get, again, once we have more resources for it, we'll make something that's highly efficient in terms of how it collects and stores those resources. But now that we have all of our wheat collected up, we're going to need to replant that field. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves some wheat seeds and re-sow this area so it's ready for the next harvest, or can start becoming ready for the next harvest. And then now that we have copious amounts of wheat, we can no longer have to worry about keeping up with our cow crusher here in terms of being able to feed wheat into our cows and upkeep the demand that we have from the cows, and also making sure that we can gain the leather and other items that we need out of this farm. And we just about have enough leather to make ourselves our enchanting station, our books with our enchanting station, which reminds me, I don't think I have any sugar growing currently, but I do have sugar cane, so we can fix that pretty easily. Now, you can plant sugar cane on dirt or sand. I prefer to plant it on sand. I don't know if there's an actual difference between the two, but I think from what I've seen and experienced, it does tend to grow a little bit faster when planted on sand. So all you need to do is prioritize a space that is adjacent to water And once you have your sand all placed down, you can then just walk along and plant the sugar cane on the sand that is sitting next to the water. And if you do click on the sugar cane too close to each other, you will end up placing the sugar cane one on top of the other, which doesn't tend to be the greatest. But it does indeed work. So now we just kind of need to give this its own time, and it will grow up eventually, as it is a time-consuming ordeal. Now, another thing that you may want to do, and we'll kind of set this up over here, fully knowing that I'm going to end up moving most, if not all, of this to another location, is you can set up an auto composter. And that is done very easily. What you can do is you can have your chest here. You'll then want to feed a hopper into the backside, place a composter on top of that, place a hopper on top of said composter, and then have a chest up on top. Now eventually you can just have a shulker box up here, or you can place a shulker box filled with whatever you want up here. But the way that this will work is you can grab your wheat seed, and let's actually walk over here to our wheat farm and grab more of that. So you can take any organic material that can be composted, you can place them up here, and then they will be auto-filed down here into the actual composter. And seeds have a relatively low compost rate, but once it eventually fills up, it will automatically pull the collected bone meal out of the composter via this hopper, and it will then store it down here. And bone meal is useful for a couple of different things. This is something that you can do, you know, initially to kind of bolster what you're able to obtain. And most everything in this chest can be composted, with the exception of the poisonous potato and possibly the mushrooms. I'm not entirely sure. But I don't need these flowers with any urgency, so we can go ahead and throw those in there and just kind of let them take care of themselves. But I actually think that's going to do it for us today. I know it was a little bit of a shorter episode, but that is due to the fact that I am working a lot with that time lapse and that replay item. So look forward to seeing larger, more exciting projects with that replay mod in the future of this series. But once again, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe for more daily content, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.